And I think, man, we should do something with that. We think we came up with a good proposal. But the main thing we want to do is whatever the neighborhood wants us to do. Because we work for you. As government employees, for real, we work for you. You're the citizens, and especially the citizens of this neighborhood. So even though we've come up with a few ideas and kind of play with it a little bit with our crayons, we really want to know what you want for the neighborhoods.
We want to make it so that kids have a good experience, moving from point A to point B throughout the area. We look at a new concept, and this concept, if you all buy into it, is something that we're probably going to be looking at City Park to get rid of some of these hard playgrounds. There's some new playgrounds through the 40 years that I've been associated with playgrounds off and on. The traditional metal, after 10 years, begins to fade. It looks ugly. It's hard to replace parts with it. They have certain specifications that you have to meet, and then those parts don't fit the existing equipment. So basically, Chris Walker and myself sat down, and I gave him a conceptual that I asked him to work on this for the last couple of weeks, actually about a month. I want to basically kind of go through this, and let me see if I can set the stage. If I could go through the 10 slides so that you could be thinking, okay? And then we'll go back to this slide to start with. But what we want to do is give you an opportunity to expand and think a little bit about what is here before we have a lot of questions. And 10 slides is not a lot. It's just some images up there, so you can understand a little bit what we're trying to do. Bring in earth and to create mounds and create an environment-scape community where it's green out there. One of the potentials is, you can see here on the left-hand side, is they've got climbing pegs where the kids can climb up to the top of the hill. This is just a concept that we're looking at, and we'll show you some earth slides here in a minute. But it gives you an opportunity for more people to utilize this facility other than having 16 people stand in line waiting to get on the harness. This is one of the slides that we're talking about putting in the ground. Children can't fall off at all. Well, they can fall off and they'll roll down the hill. But obviously you don't have that height and depth perception problem when you get into slides. Now, if you fall down, guess what? You're going boom. Well, in this case, you might get your skin, you get a rash or a burn, a rug burn, or carpet burn, grass stains, whatever. But this is one type of slide that we were looking at. One is we're looking at it, and we'll show you this concept a little bit. We're talking about putting in a fountain. And that fountain's a pump where they get an opportunity, and you'll see there's a waterfall in it, and we'll go back to that slide and we can point it out better. But to give the children a different experience. Is a park for adults? No. It can be in one area that we're going to show you, but it's an area for kids to have an opportunity to recreate, and in the modern day terminology, they call it leisure play experience. Something of this magnitude where you don't have high apparatus, but children have an opportunity to practice. If you all got kids, and I see a lot of young folks in here, motor skills, taking you from point A to point B, practicing your dexterity and your balance. So this is another option that we're presenting this evening that could take place. And this type of activity is relatively inexpensive. To build a playground on 3/4 acre, this is 0.73 acres, not quite an acre. You're looking at, in the neighborhood, probably about $150,000 hardscape if you try to utilize the whole property in a traditional playground setting. Again, these are steppers. All they are is you climb up one, up to another one, step down another one. It's an agility type activity. And there's a whole host of activities. And what I'd like to say is, if you want to get on the internet and surf and look for what we call natural playgrounds, we can come back collectively together. This doesn't have to be built like tomorrow. We'd like to build it in the off season when we're we're not dealing with roads, but there'll be an opportunity for you to this isn't a one-time meeting with a single dialogue going on the first evening. Another thing that we're looking at, and we've been out to the quarry already, is a lot of clay structures now in this type of environment are rocks. We've looked at big boulders. One of the big expenses that we'd have to have building some of the rock structures that we're talking about building is we'll have to rent a crane, and we'll bring these things in a low boy, and you'll be able to transition from one part of the clay apparatus, climbing the rocks, to another. You can buy the ones on the upper screen are manufactured rocks, and you don't want to know what they cost, and we don't want to head in that direction. Quite expensive. Going back to another traditional thing, I've got a grandchild that's 5 and one that's 2, and one of them has special needs, and I went to visit one of their facilities up in Dawsonville, outside Dahlonega. We're starting to see the traditional sand pits come back. They used to be square, hard boxes built with a rigid frame to hold the sand in. In this case, we'll show you an activity, but it appears to be that you get an opportunity to do different activities. Not everybody's athletic. Some of your kids are, when you talk about athletic, not everybody's a football player, okay? Some kids don't care about playing football. They don't care about playing soccer. They care about doing something that they want to do to expand their horizon. And that is, you can build a sandcastle right in the middle of Griffin, Georgia, right sitting out there. You can't build one around here right now. You can do a lot of different things if you let your mind open up to what we can do for this type of park. Inside of this sand structure, we're looking at maybe putting in some free-form sculptures like this. Toads, frogs, whatever you want to call them. They come in different shapes, different sizes, and obviously, the bigger they are, the more they cost. But the opportunity is it creates a different scenario in that one playscape. And one of the things that we're trying to do is to vary the activity in this 3/4 acre parcel of property that we're asking y'all what you want to see develop. So in the playscape, you know, we've got a frog, whatever, kids can climb on it, they throw sand on it, what they're going to do, you know. And, you know, it gives them an opportunity to do something different. So this is some of the type of apparatuses that we've been looking at to try to enhance the area. This is the benches that would go around that particular sand pit with those sea turtles in it. Just to make sure that each area has its own look and that it has, you know, we don't want to throw out 3 logs out there, dig a hole, throw sand in it, and say, well, this is in your neighborhood, love it or leave it, and then detract from the property value, whatever. Playgrounds as a whole have a tendency to enhance the neighborhood from an economic standpoint on the value of your homes. This is one of the swings that we might put in. This swing's about 12 grand. I was telling Kenny that, you know, we may be looking at running this over a course of 2 budgets and what have you, but this is a different opportunity for kids to do what I call traditional playground activities. Some of the things that we've designed before in state parks, or I've had the opportunity to do, is you take 12 by 12 rough cut cedar or cypress, and you peg them, and you put climbing ropes on them with knots. Like I see some people my age, I'm 60, okay, that in the old days you could go to the playground or the gym, you climbed up the rope, got to the top, then you had to climb back down. Relatively inexpensive apparatus compared to what a lot of things are in the marketplace today. We're dealing, and Chris can talk a little bit more of this, he's been pretty involved with the UGA campus over here, and we're also going to be having several gardens in here, where the kids can come in, pull leaves off plants, they'll grow back. They have an opportunity, this is just one type of garden here, there's some butterfly bushes and there's some other activities, but there's an opportunity here that maybe, and this gets into the nuts and bolts of the situation, that we can, you know, have the neighborhood association maybe want to maintain or help facilitate this from an aspect of adopting it. There's another concept that we were talking about too that seems to be getting bigger all the time, even on the East Coast now, and that is if you had a community garden out there. Now, community gardens are one of those things that, you know, if you're not Watching over it, you'll have tomatoes today, and tomorrow you won't have anything because somebody's going to pick them all. But in the world of flower gardens, you know, unless you get somebody in here that just vandalizes it, you can go in and we can build flower gardens in here in boxes and fit and put it in the landscape of the facility. This is a trellis structure. We'll show when we get back to that first slide again. One of our concepts is to go to that far corner and bring in earth and have an amphitheater that's carved into a mounted area where you have seats at one tier, seats at another tier, and another. And if it was a popular thing, and if this is what RESA might want to do when they have certain activities, the earthen bounds would be so wide that we could expand those seats and make it better, and then it'd be a staging area for teaching, or just anybody that wanted to just sit out and enjoy themselves in that area. Just give you a little bit of the concepts that we're talking about on that same subject matter. And then there's going to be some bridges along this way, because we're going to be building, or proposing to you to build a structure with a mound on the top of it that has slides and pipes. You can crawl through 60-inch pipes and go through them. And this will be, and because of the nature of this property, and if y'all live here, you know how much water sheets across this property. Well, we went in engineeringly, there's 12 acres of water that sheets across that field out there. So we've got to do something for stormwater retention. And this is where, in trying to turn it into an environmentally friendly activity, is we'll be able to build basically an island with a swale around it that will probably retain water X amount of months out of the year, except for probably during the summertime. And there'll be a bridge over it, there'll be a slide, and there'll be some other activities potentially as we begin to look at this. And it doesn't show very well here, but Chris got with Paragon, and we were looking at this, and you know, he sat down with UGA, and in order, in this day and age, as y'all know, we were the first in the state to have a stormwater utility. Well, that was done by design, because now we have to clean up the runoff water. And one of the ways that we can do this is on this island, basically is to be able to come in, flow that water through the particular area. UGA is looking at what we call 5-day wet plants, 7-day wet plants, and then short-term. And we did something similar to this in a stormwater quality pond behind, adjacent to Ryan's and the new Walmart, where we have plants in there that actually clean up the water before it's discharged back to the stormwater system. Now, that was just some of the ideas. We had to start somewhere, and Kenny says, well, you know, and this didn't come out where we just picked two things. We probably got about 20 to 30 hours in trying to figure out how this is all going to, how potentially it could work on